Welcome to the Vici Mundum Show, a ministry of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Catholic Church in Newport News, Virginia.
How are we going to get this conversation started?
That's what I'm wondering.
Tell us something about Friends, Anthony.
Tell me something good. I don't know why that came up.
Anthony, you gave a great post-communion reflection today.
Thank you, Austin.
Let me just tell you.
It was
very
all
nice.
Holy Spirit action, as it usually should be.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good.
Thank you.
I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but I had forgotten that there were just First Communions this weekend, so.
We move on real quick, huh?
I know, yeah.
We move on. And I sensed that as soon as
There goes the path.
As soon as I started to preach on it, they were like, everyone was like, that wasn't on our minds at all. And it's funny how you can sense that when you're preaching. You can tell when people are like, yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking about. And then other times it's like, where's this coming from? But it just happened, and it's really important.
Oh, yeah.
It's we were able to all go to communion. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I liked what you highlighted about we are more united now, or the school in general is more united now because the second graders have now received. And I felt like that really resonated with them. Like they all sort of sat up a little bit more attentive, like something's happened.
Yeah.
And I think that when we, and friends can do this, when we draw attention to something, people live up to that. If you tell somebody we are united and they hear that statement of fact, then they live into that. I think that's what good friends do. They tell us the things that maybe we can't see or don't believe about ourselves, and they help us to live into that.
That's so true.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad God spoke something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He always speaks.
So I think, first of all, folks, welcome to the Vici Mundum Show. With us today, we've got Anthony Ferguson, our seminarian, who gave the post-communion reflection today. In a year from now, God willing, he'll be able to give the homily.
Homily. Up until then, they're just homilies. Fake homilies.
So we've got Anthony, the homily giver, and we also have Tina Wandersee, director of outreach, and I'm Austin, the director of advancement. So welcome, folks. And as Tina was getting us started today, we actually want to talk a little bit about friendship.
Friends. It's a great TV show.
You got a friend in me.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's good. What's his name? Randy Newman. That's it.
Randy Newman.
If you ever just listen to his songs, they're the most ridiculous songs. It's like he's making them up on the fly.
That's right. On the beach somewhere.
He just has a piano, and what comes to his head comes out in the song.
You got a friend in me.
There it is.
Man, that song when Buzz Lightyear was flying through the sky or whatever by Randy Newman, and then he falls. Oh my gosh.
Clearly I will go sailing no more.
Devastating. Buzz Lightyear can't fly.
It's terrible. Yeah, he really makes that movie.
He has a friend, and his name's Woody.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Everybody's got a friend.
That's deep.
They started as frenemies, though.
Yeah, they did.
But Austin, what brought up this topic of friendship? Do you
I'm
have
going to be
friends?
honest, not Toy Story.
Okay. Thank God, I was worried.
Or Randy Newman, to be quite honest.
We're just letting the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, he's just taking this thing and running.
He is.
No, so I mean, we all have friends, like we said a moment ago, and I've been talking to. Actually, I had this awesome day recently. It was a gift from God, where I've got like four guys who I would consider some of my closest friends. And they're all over the place. Like one's currently in California, one's in Indiana, one is like transient, and another lives in West Virginia. I mean, they're all over the place. And so some of them I talk to like once a year, others I talk to weekly. And some of them like once a month or something. Well, in one day, and I was kind of having a low couple days before this day, but in one day, all four of those people called me, and like everything aligned. I usually can't answer my phone. I studied communications, but I'm kind of the worst at it. Like if somebody texts me, it might be 2 hours before I get back. And so oftentimes when people call, it goes to voicemail. But it was like just very providential, just lined up where I had time, a good amount of time to talk to all of these people. And at the end of the day, I could do nothing but be grateful to God that, that God's my friend, and he just showered his love on me by having all of these friends call and just want to talk. So it got me thinking, and kind of, like I said, praying and thanking God for friendship. And it got me thinking about the question, what makes a good friend? What is a good friend? So that's the question that I want to pose and discuss today, is what constitutes a good friend? Either of you have any thoughts that come to mind?
Well, in light of your experience with these friends that called you just out of the blue, and it was this providential coming together of these separate people that mean something to you. I mean, what was going through my mind is that a good friend reminds you of who you are. A good friend is someone that as soon as you start hanging out with or having a conversation with, you get snapped back into reality. No matter what you're going through, they kind of remind you what's important to you. They remind you what you're all about. That's what a good friend is. So, I mean, you go through periods where you're like, oh man, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who I am. But then you hang out with a really good friend and it's like, oh yeah, I remember. And they help you to realize that. So.
Yeah, they kind of bring out, I think, the best in us, and they've recognized something specific about your identity, and they can pull you back to that when they see you off course.
Yep.
And I've heard it explained that, I was reading somewhere recently that this person was writing about friendship, and they said a really good friend just is there to listen all the time and let you be who you are, which I thought was good, but it wasn't far enough, because I think a really good friend also challenges you to be that person. When I think of all four of these particular people, there's a level of challenging that we do for each other, where the one will challenge me in certain areas or ask what I think about something, and I'll say, well, that's good, Austin, but have you thought about it in this light? Or like one of my friends, it was great. I was telling him that I had tried this new program, I guess, or kind of tried this new discipline, and was like, yeah, I gave something up. Maybe it was over Lent. I don't exactly remember, but I gave something up and was like, I did that and it really stuck through, and I've been able to keep giving it up, and it's great. He's like, Austin, that's great. What have you done lately? Because this was like 3 years ago. I was like, oh man, that's a tough question. But it's a question that he could ask because he was a very good friend and I trusted him. So he could ask that question and challenge me to be a better human being. That's really kind of beautiful, and I could ask him that back.
Yeah, I've been flipping it back and forth in my head. What does it mean to be a good friend? Thinking about people in my life. What does it mean to me for them to be a good friend? What qualities do I see in them? And I can't definitively give an answer to that.
It's a big question.
But in the final moments of what you just said, ultimately for me, what makes a good friend is somebody who can reach a level of intimacy authentically, and connect there without any sort of superficiality. So for me, a good friend is somebody who knows God and knows who they are, and why we're here. Yeah. And is able to sort of be a companion on the journey. Maybe friends meant something different to me years ago, but being that I'm the oldest one at the table by about double, that has kind of changed for me. Not that younger people see friendships differently. It's just that I probably wasn't, for me personally, wasn't thinking of these same types of things when I was in my 20s. Many young people are. in their 20s now. But so for me, it's somebody who's able to reach a level of intimacy. With the job that I do, people reach that level a lot quicker. And so if like you had said, it's communications don't come naturally to you or don't come well to you or however you put it. But for me, it has to be instantaneous. And I've just been programmed throughout the day. If I get a text, I respond back, even if it's just call you in a minute. Got it. Because in the world that I live in the outreach office, people need a lifeline now.
Yeah.
They need to know somebody's there now. And so even if it's just, I'm in a meeting, I'll call you in a minute. I try to give that as quickly as possible because people need intimacy and they desire that. And even though you can't be at that level with everybody, I think being as authentic as possible with the people around you is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having intimacy, you can't do that with everybody. I think that's the problem with Facebook friends. Like you have I have like 1 million Facebook friends, but which of those I actually have any level of intimacy with is highly suspect. I don't know many of those people at all. They're acquaintances, And
I think there's something kind of subtle that can happen that can really hurt a friendship. So like my closest friend from high school, when he called the other day, he called to celebrate. He had just gotten into to university to get his PhD in philosophy. And so he called because he was excited and he wanted to celebrate. And I had nothing but joy for him. Very excited for him. Yeah. But it dawned on me just reflecting on that like, in the rest of the day, I was happy and telling my wife, oh man, his name's Rory. Rory got what he was like. He's been working so hard for this. It's so great. I'm so excited for him. And I realized, that, and it's a grace from God, but that there was true love on my part for him, that I was not envious of something that he had received. And I think that I think that's something that's really quick to destroy a friendship is envy. Even subtle envy is just, are we rejoicing at the other's good? Or are we wishing that we ourselves had it? And when you said Facebook, it kind of got me thinking about that I think that's actually, I'm not on Facebook, and that was one of the reasons why is it's very hard. And I'm not advocating that everybody get off Facebook. I'll be clear, but I found it personally just hard to look at other people and not experience any sort of envy, because what's being posted is like, hey, this great thing that happened, and because I'm not intimate with a lot of those people, I'm like, oh man, I wish I was at the beach. Oh man, I wish I had this thing or that thing that they just got. Like it would just kind of subtly come, and I realized like my love for those people wasn't growing; it was diminishing. Oh, and I think that it's very. There's just a big challenge that why'd you say
I've never thought about it. That's a really cool way of thinking, like
certainly,
you have to do things that increases your love for people, and if something is challenging that, then you have to cut it out of your life. So that for you, Facebook was that challenge.
So. And I'm not saying I won't ever get back on. I may get back on, but yeah, at the time anyway, like it was. Yeah, I just realized, like, I don't want to envy other people. I want to rejoice at their rejoicing. I want to love other people. When things are good for them, we should be nothing but happy. Our when we like their picture should be an authentic like or an authentic love.
Right,
of their
and
picture.
I think, and again, to get back to the opening, people, friends should encourage each other in a way that allows them to be drawn into the person that they were created to be. It should allow them to be able to live into something greater than, let's just say, standing around gossiping or talking about other people. Or some friendships are based on that, are based on getting together and just partying and not being present or aware of their dignity. And so I think that friends remind each other or treat each other with dignity and allow growth to happen, and people to develop into who they were created to be.
Yeah.
I like C.S. Lewis's definition of friendship. This comes from The Four Loves. Have you guys ever read The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis?
I don't think so.
No.
He talks about the 4 different types of love, and one of those is friendship. And he says that friendship is built on the question, do you see the same truth? Do you see the same truth? So like people that have similar values, and that can even be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
So like what you're saying, if a friendship is totally based on the truth that we all hate this person or something, or we all like getting blasted on alcohol. I mean, those people are
interesting.
They're united. They're like, this is the truth that we believe in.
Yes.
This is the way to a happy life.
Yes.
So even like vicious friendships can be based on the same truth. But we want, what we talked about in the Star Wars in Reality episode, why limit yourself? Why reduce the desire? We're built to love truth himself. And so if we center our friendships on that truth, on the truth, then we're going to get that intimacy that we're all looking for. We're going to get the depth of meaning that we're all hungry for.
Right.
So
yeah, that's really powerful that it's based on the same truth. And I think it's either Socrates or Plato.
One of those Greek guys.
Yeah, one of those Greek philosophers.
It's all Greek to us.
So,
whatever.
the 3 of them: Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. You know how you remember them? I love acronyms. SPA. That's how you remember the order of them. So
what?
There you have it. SPA. Socrates taught Plato. Plato taught Aristotle.
Look at that.
Well, there's your fun fact.
What's your fact?
I digress. Anyway, what's
your point? In the words
I'm
of
just thinking I might write that down.
So important.
In the words of Monty Python, get on with it.
So at any rate, he talks about, I think it's 3 types of friends. And he talks about the kind of casual friend that you might have. Like you have a lot of just these pleasant friends, people that you pass and, you see them at work. Hey, how you doing? How's the kids? You enjoying your cup of coffee and you walk on. Then you have friends of utility. And those are friends that like you, and this sounds bad, but you use
it's
them.
A nasty word.
Yeah, friends of utility. It sounds bad.
They're part of life.
They are.
So you have people that you call when you need something.
Yes.
Like I need my drain fixed. Well, I've got a great friend who's a plumber, and I call him whenever I've got issues.
It's like the Ghostbusters. Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
You call your friends the Ghostbusters when you have ghosts.
Exactly. And marketers use this. We're your friends over here, and we'll help you with this thing. Like they're marketing themselves as a utilitarian friend. They want to be your utilitarian friend, the person you call, and it just so happens they get paid when you call them. So,
like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Huh.
So you've got a lot of these friendships that are utilitarian.
Sure.
And that, I mean, I don't know. From my own personal perspective, I don't think it's healthy to leave a friendship there. I mean, some of them exist there, but the kind of the ultimate friendship is a dear friend, and that's somebody that you can really confide in. That we've been talking about, that there's intimacy, and you don't have a lot of these. In fact, in Sirach, chapter 6, they talk about true friendship, and it said, "Let your acquaintances be many, but 1 in 1,000 your confidant." There's not that many, like you don't have a lot of times in your life a lot of these really intimate friends.
It's because they're a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
It takes maintenance.
I don't know.
To a certain point.
I don't know. Yeah, I
Tina's
don't know.
not so
I'm
unsure
not
about that.
Sure about
Let's hear
that. Yeah, I think that when you have a close friend, as I say, a friend on a journey, and have intimacy with them, that's actually a lot easier than a superficial friendship. And you
fair.
probably, and I don't have to say this. I know that it just hearing the distinction between the two, that's probably true. But so somebody who is you're just sort of in a superficial relationship with, it's hard, because especially if you're in one of these friendships that is just for your sole purpose. You get something from it. You had read a quote before. Maybe you can read that again.
Sure.
Read that again.
So this is from a book by Massimo Kamisasca. He's a bishop, I think, in Italy. That's
an awesome name.
Yeah, Kamisasca. But he's a...
You said that like it was Japanese, but he's in Italy.
He's Italian.
That's awesome.
No, he's actually a part of like the communion and liberation movement, which we talked about on one of our previous podcasts. But the quote on friendship says this. So basically, there are those who confuse friendship with seeing oneself reflected in the other to the point of seeing only oneself. This is narcissism, which seeks only the approval and exaltation of the self.
Oh. Yeah, so that type of friendship is difficult because that means I need you as my friend for you to fulfill something in me, so that I can feel better, feel greater, and it's a very prideful and selfish sort of thing. That's hard to do.
Yeah,
to make sure that your friends all love you so dearly and that nothing that you do will make them go away is difficult. If you have a good friend that you're intimate with, you could literally fall on your face, do something completely grievous, and they will overlook it or understand it, and you don't have to worry that tomorrow they're gone.
In fact, they're going to pick you up.
They're going to pick you up. Yeah. So this is not difficult. If they don't call you tomorrow, much like I view it kind of like the Lord, being in friendship with the Lord. Some days he's there, Johnny on the spot, to send down the rain of blessings, right? And then some days it's like, where are you, Lord? Yeah. But in your heart, he's still there. So you don't necessarily need to, unless you've done something that requires forgiveness, you don't necessarily have to beat yourself up trying to figure out how can I win God's love. You have it, right? And so this I view as the same thing with a really true intimate friend. There's nothing you have to do to win their friendship. They'll be there, whether you're, funny today or sad tomorrow. They will be there, and you don't have to figure out what to do to win their heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think intimacy is easy. Yes. I think we think it's hard, but we actually have to do less, because I don't necessarily have to speak to you at great length to know that we share a friendship on the journey,
And there is kind of a level, I think, when you start off on the relationship, you meet somebody, and I think there's people that you click with, and it just all of a sudden is like, man, this is really taking off. But there's still, the intimacy is always growing. Mm-hmm. When I first moved to Newport News, I read this self-help business type of book, and it's kind of funny. But he talked about doing the reps. So like the repetitions. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get good at a sport, you go out like basketball and you just keep shooting hoops. You do the reps, right? Mm-hmm. And he said that a similar thing can happen, or you can kind of follow that same mentality to a degree with a friendship. Like, and when Claire and I moved here, we didn't know anybody. And so there was this great family we met, and we would, what we call, do the reps. We connected with them quickly, and it was like, but we want to grow to a level of intimacy with this couple because we really like them. So even though we're tired, we're not like really close with them yet. So let's call them and have them over. Yeah. Maybe we don't want to do it right now. Let's do it anyway. Yeah. And so they would come over, and we got to a point where I could show up at their house and like knock on their back window while they're doing dishes and surprise them. And they're like, oh my gosh, Allison, come on in. And it was it was this beautiful like intimacy, but you work for it. Yeah. And I think to kind of bring this like full circle, because who's the best friend we can have is Jesus Christ, And that's kind of, when I think about like a really good friendship with a person and what you go through to develop that level of intimacy, you kind of have to go through the same thing with Jesus. Yeah. On our own part is like, you've got to be faithful. You've got to, even when you don't feel like it, you got to get on your knees and pray, for that intimacy to really start to mature and to grow.
And what does Jesus say? But like, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. It's still a burden. It's still, the Christian life is hard.
Yeah.
The Christian friendship,
Yeah.
I would say is hard work. And I guess what I meant by maintenance, it's not like, oh crap, now I have to go and do this for this friend. No, it's more like we have to invest in people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good distinction.
We have to invest in the friends that we've made. And I think God brings friends into our life so that we can learn how to like invest in people. So it's not always like, oh, I want to go make me some friends. It's who's God bringing together into my life? Who is he giving me as a friend? Those are sometimes the friendships that are both harder and easier.
Yes.
They're both harder because like once you grow to that intimacy with someone, there's a greater demand. They might ask things of you that your acquaintances would never dream of asking.
But you know what? It's easy because you love them.
Yeah.
And so when they ask something challenging, it's like, of course I will do it.
And it's a joy.
The burden is light because you get to express your love for that person.
Absolutely.
And when they don't ask, you almost get kind of hurt. Like, why didn't you burden me with that? I want to help you carry that.
Right. And I guess, and just to, I will bring value to it being difficult in that there are times through these intimate relationships where you cannot do anything but be at the foot of the cross. And that is difficult when you have a friend that you are intimate with, when there is no solution or no help that you can be other than just standing there, as Mary did at the foot of the cross, silently, praying. This, yes, can weigh on you and make it difficult because now that you're in an intimate relationship, this burden of theirs is the same as if it was your burden.
That's so true.
You know what I'm saying? You have now come into such a relationship with them that whatever they suffer, you suffer. Same as you would your kids or your spouse.
Yeah.
And so that is burdensome because it's just another thing that you have to relinquish to God. So you're not only relinquishing your own burdens to God, now you're relinquishing the burdens of the people that you're intimate with as well.
That reminds me of you shared before we started recording the story of David and Jonathan.
Oh, yeah.
And how, like, Jonathan, he's, like, in good with King Saul. He's his son. Like, he has nothing to worry about. But he becomes friends with David and identifies with David's sufferings. Mm-hmm. Like, he starts to, like, realize that he has a part to play, that he can, like, defend his friend in a way, or, like, help David. Mm-hmm. Or just, walk with him as Saul tries to kill him over and over.
Yeah, as his own father tries to kill him, he continues to try to protect David.
Yeah.
I mean, the friendship is just like, if you read, there's so much in the story of David, 1st and 2nd Samuel, but that aspect of their friendship is just really beautiful. And I'll read just a couple of verses so you can kind of, if you've not read this story or it's been a while, just the beauty of the love that the two of them have. So this is chapter 18 in 1 Samuel. By the time David finished speaking with Saul, Jonathan had become as fond of David as if his life depended on him. He loved him as he loved himself. And then a little further on, and Jonathan entered into a bond with David because he loved him as himself. Jonathan divested himself of the mantle he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his military dress and his sword, his bow, and his belt. I mean, that's beautiful.
That's
he
him.
Loved him as he loved himself.
Yeah.
And that, and that was one of the first times that Jonathan encountered David. I think he had seen him before. He fought different things, but when he really is watching David have this interaction with Saul, it's like he sees him talking to Saul and he loves him. And he enters into this bond with him,
A covenant.
Yeah, and there's something about, like, we've all met those people who just have this deep relationship with Christ, and you meet them and then you love them. Mm-hmm. And it's in that, and I mean, think about the ultimate. Mm-hmm. Like, when you meet Christ, you love him. Mm-hmm. Well, you should. Sometimes we choose the opposite, but when you really encounter that conversion, you love him and you want to enter into the bond and you want to divest yourself of of the things, of your trappings. You want to give him something.
You want to make yourself vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Jonathan, he's like,
that's so
all right,
true.
my shield, my sword, I don't need these anymore. I'm going to be totally vulnerable. And that,
Wow.
we didn't really get into that too much,
Yeah.
but like friendship is built on being willing to be vulnerable with people.
Yes.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah, you can't have a really deep friendship with a hard heart.
No.
Yeah. You have to have a soft heart. So, well, we could go on and on about friends. Guys, you guys are some good friends. I'll tell you that.
Great friend to you.
I call you
great
friends.
friend.
No longer slaves.
Yeah, no
but at the end of this podcast,
No
I now
longer.
call you all friends.
Austin, you're no longer my slave.
Biblical reference.
Man, this is going to be fun. There's so many like peaks in this audio from us laughing.
Oh,
it's gonna
gosh.
be. I hope we didn't blow out your ear holes.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
listeners.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, well, folks, thank you for listening to another episode of the Vici Mundum Show. Remember, you can rate us, share us, and if you're a good friend, you can send us an email. We'll take it. ViciMundum1633@gmail.com. So, thank you guys, and until next time, Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
Pray for us.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the presenters alone and do not necessarily reflect the views of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Catholic Church in Newport News, Virginia, or the Catholic Diocese of Richmond. This podcast is presented to you by individuals who are not all necessarily experts in the field of discussion, but are answering the call to new evangelization and sharing their love of Christ with you. God bless you.
Speak, friend, and enter.
I no longer call you all my slaves.